Hi everyone, this is Miss P, and this video is about multiplying a fraction by a whole number. In this video, I'll teach you how to multiply a fraction by a whole number. We're going to start with the example of 1/3 times 6. Now, when you're multiplying a fraction by a whole number, what you're really trying to find is that fraction of that whole. So in this case, I'm looking to solve what is 1/3 of 6. The best way to think of this logically is to start by thinking about those 6 wholes. If you have 6 of something and you have to split it into 3 parts, one of those 3 parts is going to represent 1/3 of 6, or 1/3 times 6. In this particular case, this problem represents a number of wholes, 6 wholes, that can actually be broken up into 3 equal parts. If I think about my group of 6 wholes being split up into 1, 2, 3 equal parts, you'll see that 1/3 of 6 wholes is equal to 2 wholes. But now let's talk about a strategy that's easily applied to multiplying a fraction by a whole number. In this case, 1/3 times 6. The best way to multiply these two numbers is to put the whole number, in this case 6, in fraction form. So a whole number in fraction form is simply that number over 1, 6 wholes. Once you've converted the whole number into fraction form, you can simply bring down the fraction, in this case 1/3, and multiply it by 6 over 1. Now that both numbers are in fraction form, it's really simple to multiply. You simply start by multiplying the numerators. In this case, 1 times 6 equals 6, and then you multiply the denominators. In this case, 3 times 1 equals 3. So 1/3 times 6 over 1 equals 6/3. It's the same thing as 1/3 times 6 equals 6/3. The first thing that you should notice about this answer of 6/3 is that it is a fraction greater than 1, or an improper fraction. The numerator is larger than the denominator. This tells us that we should simplify the fraction in order to make it a whole number or a mixed number, depending on what the fraction greater than 1 is. In this case, we can make 6/3 into a whole number. You should notice that the denominator of 3 is a factor of 6, and that numerator of 6 is a multiple of the denominator 3. Once I can determine how many 3's go into 6, or if I were to divide it, 6 divided by 3, you should know right away that 3 goes into 6 2 times, or 6 is exactly 2 groups of 3, which gives us an answer of the whole number 2. So 1/3 times 6 equals 2, which is the same answer we came up with when we used the visual. Let's use the same simple strategy while multiplying 4/5 times 15. Here again, we have a fraction, 4/5 multiplied by a whole number, 15. The first thing we should do when using this strategy is write the whole number 15 in fraction form, or 15 over 1, and bring down the fraction of 4/5 to multiply it by 15 over 1. Doing this multiplication problem should be easy. 4 times 15 is 60, and 5 times 1 is 5. In this case, we have pretty round numbers with 5 and 60. You should know right away that 60 is a multiple of 5 because it ends with a 0. So, to simplify this fraction greater than 1, or this improper fraction, we have to determine how many times 5 goes into 60. One way to do that would be to simply divide 60 by 5. 5 goes into 6 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. 6 minus 5 is 1. Bring down that 0. 5 goes into 10 2 times. So 60 is 12 groups of 5. Now, you might have just known that off the top of your head. You might have been able to figure it out with these round numbers of 5 and 60. But if that was a little tricky for you, or if it's a bigger, more complicated number, the long division is always a great way to solve it. So now we know 60 divided by 5 is the whole number of 12. So 4/5 times 15 is equal to 12. Whenever you multiply a fraction by a whole number, you can put that whole number in fraction form by taking the number and putting it in a numerator while placing the number 1 in the denominator, and then multiplying those two fractions just as you would any other two fractions. The numerator times the numerator equals the numerator of the answer, and the denominator times the denominator equals the denominator in the answer. Don't forget that whenever you have a fraction greater than 1 or an improper fraction, you should try to simplify to get a whole number or mixed number for your final answer.